Good morning. One of the babies is still asleep. So we probably have about 15-20 minutes. Hi, Mom. Avery's awake, but Ashlyn's still sleeping. So I thought, well, while she's sleeping, I better jump on. Would you send it out on Twitter for people who aren't getting notifications, please? Hey, Michelle. Thank you. Ashlyn's still asleep, so as soon as she starts squawking, I'm going to have to run. Hi, Sophie. And today was supposed to be a big magic day. Oh, you're welcome. I've been checking every day. The finance oil from Young Living is back in stock. I know. I checked over the weekend too. It just came back in stock today. So, I'm just going to jump right in. So, hopefully, you guys can catch the replay. And, you're welcome. Because I don't know when Ashlyn's going to wake up. She woke up at 4:30 and went back to sleep at 5:30. And I just checked on her, and I was going to try and wake her up and then get on about 9:45, but she's still hard asleep, and you don't want to wake that one up. Like, you can get away with waking up Avery. Hi, Linda. But you don't want to wake up Ashlyn if you can avoid it, because she's horrible. She's awful. I got a lot of light over there. So today was supposed to be a big magic day, and I ran off and left the book in LJ. So it's going to be a Dow day. A Dow to Jean day. We're all out of whack anyway because I've been reading different books. So let me just jump right in here and get us going. Oh, thank you. It's a product called Enjoy in a blue bottle. I think it's just called Styling Lotion. And it works really well because I slept on this wet. I had my hair in a t-shirt. But at some point in the night, the t-shirt came off and it still worked okay, so. Oh, today's is the sick mind. Were we just talking about this yesterday? Thanks. Yeah, it holds them together. The problem with my curls is if I touch them at all or they get rubbed, then they just turn into frizz. So yeah, this stuff holds it together and it's not spiky or weird. But the sick mind is number 71. To know without knowing is best. Not knowing without knowing it is sick. Okay, wait a minute. To know without knowing is best. Not knowing without knowing it is sick. To be sick of sickness is the only cure. The wise aren't sick. They're sick of sickness, so they're well. Her notes say, what you know without knowing you know, it is the right kind of knowledge. Any other kind, conviction, theory, dogmatic belief, opinion, isn't the right kind of knowledge, and if you don't know that, you'll lose the way. This chapter is an example of exactly what Lao Tzu was talking about in the last one, obscure clarity and well-concealed jade. So that's what I feel like I encounter a lot down here in the South, especially politically, is an ignorance, a lack of knowing that they don't know. Whenever you're dead to the core, certain that you're right and you know everything there is to know, is when you're the most wrong. It's when you're the most off kilter, and I can definitely agree that that is when you have really lost the way. Hi, Betty. To know that you don't know requires a certain amount of humility. Yeah, which we also talked about yesterday too with the oil, about being humble. Knowing that we don't know, accepting that we'll never know. Even though in certain fields I can present at conferences and be considered an expert, I would never presume that I know everything there is to know about any subject. I don't even know what all there is to know about myself. And I live with me. So I think it is a sickness to not know that you don't know. And people, I think the worst kind of people are the ones who exploit ignorance, that encourage ignorance. Oh, really? The pear trees. I didn't know that. Do they use a lot of water or something? We have a pear tree on the property next to us. I'll take the pretty flowers, though. Great. Right. The older I get, the less I know. And understanding that I don't know anything, really, is what I know today could be different tomorrow. Hi, Nina. What I know tomorrow will be different the day after. Good morning. Oh, they're intrusive. Okay. Killing the native flowers. The kudzu's like that in Georgia. The kudzu just takes over and destroys everything. There were good intentions when the kudzu was planted for erosion control. Hi, Heath. But now it takes over. I mean, it's a pernicious weed now. In Colorado, it was purple loosestrife. Hi. Yeah, you didn't know. Now you do. I put something on about my page about not declawing your cats. And Tanya said, she felt bad that she didn't know those kinds of things and both their cats are declawed. And I was like, but when we know better, we do better. I didn't know that when you take kittens to the animal shelter that they euthanize them. I thought they would take care of them. So Grit had 4 siblings that we took to the shelter and they probably euthanized them. I didn't ask, but when I found out, they were only 2 weeks old and we had to bottle feed her every few hours. So I'm sure they just put them down. I felt horrible about that. I still feel horrible about that. But I didn't know. Grit actually increased my knowledge exponentially because we had to get educated about feral cats. Because here we had a feral kitten and we didn't know what the hell to do with her. So when we know better, we do better. We'll know more if we have that attitude of beginner's mind and we accept that we don't know. That's where I think you have to be humble and you have to have a certain level of maturity where your ego can handle the fact that you're never an expert in anything. Unless you like the pretty pear flowers and you don't care about the ecosystem as a whole. Right. Yeah, that's not a good plan. So I love what she says here at the bottom. Any other kind of knowledge which you would call conviction, theory, dogmatic belief, and opinion is not the right kind of knowledge. Opinions that can't be questioned, if you feel like you have to defend your opinion to the death, that's definitely not the right kind of knowledge. And dogmatic belief just because you grew up being told a certain thing, that black people are bad, or you're going to go to hell if you're not a Christian, and you have to be a particular kind of Christian, or you're going to go to hell. That kind of carrying on of a completely erroneous belief system that's a hard one for me to handle. Because I'm always asking questions, and I know that nothing I'm certain about I can truly be certain about. Everything I have in my head is open to question. Hi, Dennis. And if I'm not willing to question my cherished beliefs and my opinions, yeah, and see, we grew up being told if you weren't in the Church of Christ, you were going to hell. I remember that very clearly. And it had to be a particular branch of Church of Christ. The Church of Christ has 1 cup and 2 cup. So the 1 cup Church of Christ, there's no Sunday school, there's no music, just singing, and there's no, the kids are all together in the congregation, and you share a cup for communion. 1 cup goes around. Yeah, and then the 2 cup or the multi-cup is, as I remember it, and it's been a long time, but as I remember it, it had the Sunday school and it had the little cups that went around, so everyone was drinking individually. I get the concept. 1 cup is community. in my mind, 1 cup is passing around the flu. I'm just kidding. I don't really worry about stuff like that. But, you know, it's so narrow. How can that possibly be true? Even when I was 7 years old, I was asking myself, how can that possibly be right? So let's see what Stephen Mitchell has to say. That was actually a really short reading. Okay. Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease. First realize that you are sick, and then you can move toward health. The master is her own physician. She has healed herself of all knowing, thus she is truly whole. I love that line right there. She has healed herself of all knowing. We have to know that we don't know. I loved my professor who always said the only certain thing in life is the theory of relativity. Everything is relative to who you are, where you're at in your life, what society you live in, what religion you practice, or what spirituality you follow. Everything about who you are is made up of all those things and all those different combinations of things. And we can change them, we can consciously change them and redefine ourselves and give ourselves new belief systems, but we still need to know that those are constructed. They're constructs. They come from how we perceive the world. And that is the source of, you know, so much cultural conflict and racism and whatnot, is not understanding that not everybody sees the world the way we do. The biggest struggle I had on the sex assault response team that I ran is that so many of the participants, usually in law enforcement, because they are trained to think in pretty black and white terms, especially in the beginning of their career. Older police officers recognize that there are shades of gray. But the young ones and the young investigators and the young attorneys, the young prosecuting attorneys, pretty still black and white. And that's partly developmental. But the biggest struggle I had is they would think, oh, that's common knowledge. Well, of course, everybody does it that way. That's common knowledge. Well, it's only common knowledge if you were raised in the common culture. If you share a common socioeconomic status and you share a common level of education, then it might be common knowledge for you. But what you know as a prosecutor is not what your victim knows. They may have a 6th grade education level, so you can't speak to them as if they have a master's degree. So that kind of disconnect comes from having an ego that believes it has to know, that it has to be right and it has to be the expert. And that's a dangerous way to live your life. It's an especially dangerous way to live in your work life when you're working with people. It takes a lot of time to educate people that they are not as educated as they think they are. And that's not a judgment. It just is what it is. But we can do that for ourselves and move ourselves along our path of growth and compassion and expansion simply by recognizing that we're not right and we don't have to be right. We don't know everything and we don't have to know everything. So Byron Katie says, not knowing is true knowledge. I absolutely believe that's true. I think I want to tattoo that on some people. Let me just run around with a permanent rubber stamp that says not knowing is true knowledge. You don't know shit. That could be another one. You don't know shit. That could be a t-shirt. Okay. To think you know something is to believe the story of a past, and it's insane. Every time you think you know something, it hurts, because in reality, there's nothing to know. You're trying to hold on to something that doesn't even exist. There's nothing to know. There's no one who wants to know it. It's so much easier that you don't know. It's kinder. I love the don't know mind. When you know that you don't know, you're naturally open to reality and can let it take you wherever it wants to. You can drop your identity and be who you really are, the unlimited, the nameless. People call me Katie, but I don't believe it. Hi, Catherine. Someone says, I'll be here at 9 o'clock. No one can know what it's like for someone with no future to watch a clock become 9. The event is so miraculous there are no words for it. It's 1 minute past 8, then suddenly it's 2 minutes past 8, according to a clock that's always pointing to now. And now it's 8:30, and now all at once it's 9, and the person shows up from a past that doesn't exist. I'm in continual amazement at such happenings. Side note, total off-topic tangent. The reason we all have clocks that are synchronized is because of the railroad system. It was a really cool show on NPR. You can Google it. Before that, everyone's clocks might have been a half hour or so off. But when people started traveling on the railroads and getting deliveries by railroad trains, the railroad company said, we as a nation had to synchronize our clocks because we're not getting anywhere and things are all off kilter. That's why we had that. Interesting factoid for you. Now I'm walking to the living room, I think. I think that I'm on my way to open the window, but I have no clue where it's actually going. I don't know if the window even exists. As the body moves, I hear each step on the hardwood floor as if it were mine. This step, the next, the next. I experience everything in slow motion. When I'm walking, each movement within one step is complete. It's one step at a time, but actually it's everything in between that too. There's literally no time and space, no past or future, not even a present. No one coming, no one going, no meaning, no motive, no goal. And finally you get to a place where nothing moves. That is home. The place we all long for, the still point, the center of the universe, absolute zero. That is a difficult state to achieve, but meditation can help you to achieve it, because always in the back of your mind, usually for most of us, is whatever's coming up next. So even as I'm reading to you and I'm thinking about this don't know, I'm also thinking about the railroad caused us synchronized clocks. And then I'm reading further and I'm keeping one ear out for when Ashlyn wakes up, and I have another focus on Avery, and there's a dog at my feet. So my attention is in like 7 different areas. And the activities that are the most refreshing put me in that place where there's nothing in the back of my mind about what's coming next. And there's no awareness except what I'm doing at the moment. That's when I'm most fully present, and that's the most restorative activity. Those are the activities that when I do remember that there's other things going on, I have so much more energy. That's why meditation is so awesome, is eventually you get a space of time in every day where your attention isn't split in 7 different directions. Miraculously, the living room appears, a window appears, and I experience excitement. Will it go to the window? This is what seems to be happening, but I can never know. I watch as my body moves to the kitchen. I watch as my hand picks up the steamer. You never know what it will do until it doesn't. And what am I? I must be a what? I can't find an identity as everything else is busy being what it is. Is it really necessary to be something? No. And also, that's not possible. Can I pretend to be something? No. Too late. My time for that is past. I'm awake as nothing but laughter, inner lightning, aware, alive in myself, and not this, not this, not this. The food gets to be a something, the sink gets to be a something, and yet I can never be anything, no matter how much I might attempt to create myself as substance. I can imagine colors, sounds, as I create squash, counter, plate, and notice again that this dream too, which is constantly disappearing, gone even as I notice it, is as vibrant as the dream of window or phone. It lives only for its own delight as a flash in apparent time. I notice this is all I can be, and that everything is born out of me, and there is nothing that is or isn't. It's all one huge, amazing joke. If I could smile, I would. So sometimes when she goes off into those areas, I don't have a concept of that. I have flashes of experience of that. But I don't on a regular basis move through my life thinking of my body as it and forgetting my name. And I don't know if that's possible. I mean, I believe that that's how she experiences life. I don't know if she experiences it all the time or if this is a flash of time in which she's really aware that she isn't anything. If you take all your labels off, for a few moments I can function that way. But I have never been able to maintain that for very long. I would say no more than a few hours, and that's rare. And usually that's triggered by something, a death or actually even something really good will throw me into that, but it's very hard to stay there. And I don't know that I want to stay there. I really don't. I think the things that she describes in this book is fascinating. And I know that the actual work part is dramatically life-changing. But I don't know what it would be like to live like that for hours and hours and days and days. I don't know. I feel the same way about when people ask about reincarnation and things like that. I don't have any idea about reincarnation. I know that I run into people that I feel so familiar with. I know that I have really vivid dreams that are not of this time and place or things that I've experienced with these eyes. But I don't know that that means that I lived those. I almost think it may be more Einstein-ish, where everything's happening all at once, maybe more a concept of parallel realities, all time happening at the same time, and our awarenesses of each other. But I also lean toward the collective unconscious, where if you've experienced something, I may dream about it as if it's happening to me, but it's really just in our unified field, and I just happen to tap into it. I have had emotional reactions to what feel like memories, but again, I don't know, is that an actual past life or is it genetic memory? Did one of my ancestors experience life in Ireland? I have a lot of feels like memories in Ireland, but I also come from Ireland as, my ancestors. So is it ancestral memory of the coastlines of Ireland or the fields or whatever it is that I feel so connected to? Is an actual past life? I don't know. That's something I really don't know. Yeah, it's all interesting to think about. I think we can get lost in looking for past lives, and it can keep us from dealing with what we have right in front of us. And I know for myself, I definitely went through a phase of that, like thinking about past lives and doing past life regression and stuff was far more entertaining than working on my actual problems. That, I needed to spend less time worrying about where those problems came from and more time actually doing something about them. And this is not a judgment. It's just the way that I've done it. And if I find it distracting these days, because I recognize that there's no way for me to know. I can theorize, and I do like theories, but there's no way for me to know 100% that reincarnation is possible. There's also no way for me to know if the unified field theory is accurate or if the collective unconscious exists. It feels true to me, and I don't question those things too much. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really change my day-to-day existence, and my intentions for my life for today is to survive taking care of the twins. Not just survive, but to play with them. Yeah, having proof doesn't matter to me anymore. I don't feel like I have to prove anything, which is why I feel more comfortable sharing whatever I'm interested in at the moment without really caring too much how other people receive it. because I can't prove it. I don't feel a need to prove it. And people who question my theories don't offend me because they're just theories. That's okay. It's all right. So living in, and I will say I do live in the don't know mind the majority of the time. Hi, Aaron. Because I don't, I'm not offended by people criticizing the way I think or the theories that I like thinking about. Hey! Did you have a good Easter? The girls had a good Easter. They got their little Easter baskets, and they were totally confused by them, and they're too little. We'll have more fun Easters later. So that's not to say that it's a bad thing to explore whatever theory you feel like exploring. I feel like the more we explore different theories, the more we're comfortable with the fact that we have no idea what we're doing. We're just doing the best we can with what we know, and we read interesting books that make us feel better, and if we feel better, the people around us feel better. There's pajama pants back there. Which is improving our lives, which is ultimately improving the state of the world. So I'm fine with all of that. She's being so quiet. It's because sister's not awake, so she has no competition. Whoa. You can get a little Avery shot. Yeah. I think when you get caught up in needing to be an expert, you really lose a lot of what really matters in life, like toddlers and dogs and cats and your daily existence and how you treat the cashier and how if you act a fool on the highway, and because that's all such a place of certainty, and certainty doesn't exist. If we can get comfortable with the idea of don't know mind, then we're getting more comfortable with the concept of uncertainty, and that we really don't know from one day to the next, from 1 minute to the next, what's going to happen. Yeah, it's all relative. And if we're comfortable with uncertainty, then we're not thrown as off kilter when something uncertain happens. Like we wreck the car, or the car breaks, or we lose our jobs. We're not thrown so badly by things like that because we're already comfortable with the idea that things are already changing. Or not already changing, well, yeah, but always changing. If you understand and live in a way that you demonstrate that understanding that everything's always changing, when things change, you're less likely to freak out. When things change now, I have, like, relatively speaking, a 5-minute freak out compared to a 6-month freak out, like I have done in the past. I don't know if I'll ever have a 0 freak out when things change, but it is really short because and I almost wonder if it's not a knee-jerk reaction habit now to have a freak out. Because I know in my bones that everything's always changing. We live where we live now. That might change a month from now. Yeah, the girls live in Loganville now. That might change 6 months from now. Who knows? They have their jobs. Their jobs may change. I have my, cobbled together employment existence, and that may change. Who knows? I just don't know. I guess the thing is you have to let not knowing not make you scared. It's an illusion anyway. It's an illusion of control. Hi! Thanks for coming back. We think we have a 5-year plan, but we're lucky if we have a real 5-minute plan. As it is always in motion, always in flux. I think also living that way helps you really appreciate what's here in front of you right now. Yeah, if I know that everything is changing and life is slipping through my fingers on a daily basis, then I'm very appreciative of what I have. So I have And I knew this even when Morgan was a baby. I fixated on her a lot because I knew she was changing so quick and my time was going to be so short. So I remember her life very clearly. I do too, because ultimately it is. And now I spend time with the twins, and I do that with my cats too. Like, I know that it's always changing, so I'm always appreciative of what's here right now. Not 24/7, I'm not perfect. But I would say the majority of my life is spent in appreciation of what's here right now. Oh, okay. I got Ashlyn screaming, so I got to run get her. Love you guys. Sorry to cut off so shortly, but babies call, and babies come first. Bye. Love you. Have a great day.